your first reaction to hearing that Deadpool may be joining the MCU was, "Yay, more Deadpool!" We don't blame you, but there are definitely a ton of complications preventing this from happening. And we aren't just talking about the epically slow-moving Disney-Fox merger. Between the current overflowing residency of the MCU and Deadpool's R rating, we think we've found a way for Wade Wilson to fit in. But before we get into how we think Deadpool will eventually be a part of the MCU, subscribe to CBR and ring that bell to join our notification squad so you never miss any of our MCU videos. If you have conflicting feelings about Deadpool joining the MCU, you're not alone. We waited for years to finally see the merc with a mouth on the big screen, and then we got the sad X-Men Origins version. Then, in 2016, we not only got a Deadpool movie, but it was starring Ryan Reynolds. It was rated R, and it was actually good. Things were looking up for us fans, but of course, then things had to go and change. But this doesn't mean they're going to change for the worse. In fact, we have to admit the possibility of Deadpool joining the MCU is pretty exciting. For ages, the characters of Deadpool, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men belonged to 20th Century Fox. But in 2017, the studio was purchased by the Walt Disney Company, meaning all of these beloved characters have been added to the arsenal of Marvel Studios. Before we start talking about how Deadpool will join the MCU, let's talk about when it might happen. If you were thinking Deadpool would be the answer to how is Thanos going to be defeated in Avengers 4, we love where your head is at, but unfortunately, you're wrong. According to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, the studio plans their movies out years in advance. So throwing a wrench, or a merc with a mouth, into the carefully laid out plans isn't going to happen. Marvel fans know about the different phases of movies which cover certain periods of time and major cosmic events. Avengers 4 will mark the end of Phase 3, meaning Phase 4 will start with Spider-Man Far From Home. Although Marvel has Phase 4 all planned out, as usual, they haven't shared their master plan with us just yet. We know, we're hurt too, but as far as Deadpool's concerned, it seems likely that he'll be introduced into the MCU during Phase 5. Breaking the fourth wall is one of those cinematic moments which can either greatly enhance a movie or completely take you out of the experience. The first two Deadpool movies are impressive for various reasons, not the least of which is that Deadpool frequently breaks the fourth wall to add equal parts information and wry humor. The answer for how they could explain Deadpool showing up in the MCU could be as simple as having Deadpool himself explain it. We would definitely love to hear his take on this pretty convoluted and confusing corporate process. We're sure he has a whole lot to say about it. Right now, Deadpool tends to simply use these breaks in order to make jokes about what's going on behind the scenes in the real world, or make a pointed pop culture reference, but they could easily be used to explain how his world merged with the MCU. If you're not familiar with the Deadpool comics, well, that's a real shame, but you might be wondering if Deadpool ever breaks the fourth wall in them, and the answer is a resounding yes. It's kind of his thing, so we could definitely see it being used as an important narrative tool in the future. If you don't like thinking about Deadpool's appearance in X-Men Origins, you probably enjoy thinking about the Fantastic Four movies even less. These films have been notoriously bad, which is a shame because the comic book characters are, well, fantastic. At this point, it's safe to say the Fantastic Four need a total overhaul in order to be introduced into the MCU, and considering how badly they've been handled previously, we don't think Disney could possibly make the situation any worse. We aren't saying the X-Men movies are bad, or at least not all of them, but the timeline and characters have gotten pretty convoluted over the years. Plus, we've already seen versions of the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in the MCU. It makes sense that the X-Men will also need to be rebooted in order to fit into the existing universe. And then, we have Deadpool. The Deadpool movies are recent, and they got rave reviews from fans and critics alike, so unlike the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, we don't think it's necessary to do a hard reboot of the series. James Gunn directed the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies and was asked by Ryan Reynolds about the possibility of combining the Guardians with Deadpool. His answer was an enthusiastic yes, and obviously this caused us fans to start speculating wildly. We know Avengers 4 is going to be a game changer, but we somehow doubt Captain America is going to be replaced by Deadpool anytime soon. There are a few problems with the idea of Deadpool reporting for duty with the Avengers or the Guardians of the Galaxy. The merc with a mouth isn't known for playing well with others. We all remember what happened last time he got a team together. Plus, his movies are rated R, while the other MCU movies are rated PG-13. It may not seem like a huge difference, but when you consider the tone, language, and violence in Deadpool versus, say, the Avengers, it's pretty noticeable. Although it can be difficult to remember, there was a time when the members of the Avengers stuck to their own movies and didn't interact with one another. character. It would certainly be possible for Deadpool to join the MCU and somehow never end up crossing paths with more family-friendly action heroes like Spider-Man or Thor. Deadpool only interacted with the X-Men when absolutely necessary, so we don't think he'll be trying to be besties with Tony Stark right away. This would mean Deadpool could maintain his R rating and his specific brand of comedy, which would honestly be a relief to many of his fans. We could spend the rest of the video talking about the possibility of Deadpool existing within the MCU, but in a different universe than the rest of the existing heroes. Don't worry, we won't subject you to that, but don't thank us. Thank Disney CEO Bob Iger. According to Iger, the acquisition of Fox will provide Disney with the opportunity to reunite the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool with the Marvel family under one roof and create richer, more complex worlds of interrelated characters and stories that audiences have shown they love. So, at this point, it certainly sounds like Deadpool won't be all alone in another universe separate from the rest of our Marvel heroes. We think there's a way to both maintain the integrity of the Deadpool franchise and not leave Deadpool out of the MCU fun. Yes, we know it's really weird to use the words integrity and Deadpool in one sentence. Spider-Man is a popular character who's no stranger to reboots, but Tom Holland's Spider-Man managed to seamlessly blend into the MCU. He experienced a soft reboot by showing up during Captain America: Civil War, before getting his own movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Deadpool is a character with recent and successful live-action movies, so we could see him briefly encountering established MCU heroes in a manner similar to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. According to actor Ryan Reynolds, he made a joke about Disney during Deadpool 2, but Fox cut it from the final film. At this point, Ryan Reynolds is completely synonymous with Deadpool, and even the character's creator, Rob Liefeld, agrees. He's of the opinion that as long as Ryan Reynolds is involved with the character, he's bound to be a continued success. Bob Iger seems to feel there's room for an R-rated superhero in the MCU, and we're inclined to believe him. Deadpool would occasionally team up with other heroes, but mainly do his own thing within the confines of the MCU. Plus, let's not forget that one of the best things about Deadpool is that he's not a cookie-cutter superhero. In fact, he's been the bad guy more than once. For a long time, the Avengers wrestled with the Hulk, who can be both a powerful ally or a terrifying enemy. Now that the Hulk has seemingly cooled down after Thor Ragnarok, maybe it's time for the Avengers to embrace another unpredictable but nearly indestructible enemy turned friend. Deadpool's teamwork section on his resume is pretty unimpressive to say the least, so we don't exactly anticipate him being a regular member of the Avengers. Even the adorably excitable Peter Parker turned down a chance to join up with the Avengers during Spider-Man: Homecoming. The Guardians of the Galaxy are a bit more of a motley crew, but we still have trouble picturing Deadpool joining their ranks. Being alternatively helpful and troublesome while always being mouthy is kind of Deadpool's thing. We think Disney's smart enough to have caught on to that by now, and will embrace it in the future when adding Deadpool to the MCU. Even if Deadpool spends most of his time in his R-rated, chimichanga-filled universe, there's no reason he can't cross over into the main MCU when the situation calls for it. In fact, we think it would be pretty hilarious to have Deadpool trying to censor himself to adhere to the PG-13 rating. We tend to think of Disney as automatically family-friendly, which is why so many of us were concerned about the idea of Deadpool joining the MCU in the first place, but according to Bob Iger, the company is interested in our favorite R-rated superhero. We've also seen some things which suggest Deadpool is eager to make his way to the MCU proper. During Deadpool, fans were ecstatic to see what looked to be the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier. Clearly, this was a direct confirmation that Deadpool was packing up his big bag of weapons and heading to the MCU, right? Well, not exactly. Actually, not even remotely. Deadpool used a state-of-the-art visual effects company called Blur for many of its visuals. Blur CEO Tim Miller was asked about the helicarrier, which many fans believe to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicle. He confirmed that it was absolutely not at all related to the super-secret MCU organization and pointed out that many groups utilize flying combat platforms, not just S.H.I.E.L.D. We know, we were shocked when we found that out too. According to Miller, because of the licensing issue at the time, there was no way his company was going to put anything S.H.I.E.L.D. in the movie. However, he did admit it does look a little similar to the ones we've seen in the MCU. The fact that the world of Deadpool and the MCU are so technologically similar that this kind of confusion is even possible shows how simple his introduction to the MCU could be. We have so much to look forward to during Phase 4 of the MCU, but we can't help but be preoccupied with the thought of Deadpool hanging out with the rest of the MCU. We know the futures of some of our favorite heroes are uncertain, so it'll be interesting to see how Deadpool fits into the mix. After all, if Tony Stark doesn't survive Avengers 4, Deadpool could take over the vacant father figure position for Peter Parker. Okay, we're kidding, but only sort of. In the comics, these two characters have a truly strange but compelling back and forth, which we would definitely love to see on the big screen. What do you think about Deadpool joining the MCU? Would you love to see him fighting alongside the Avengers and the Guardians, or do you think he should operate mostly alone? Let us know what you think in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more MCU content. Thanks for watching.